And we're going to start in a reclined easy pose, just to let the body really relax and settle backwards. So if easy pose cross-legged is a little bit uncomfortable for you, then I'd recommend taking butterfly, which is just bringing the soles of the feet together and letting the knees drop out. And you can use support on the sides of the hips. So if you have blocks or bricks, you might want to use those. Or you can use cushions or blanket, things like that. So I'll just show you how we're going to set up. So if you grab your cushion or your pillow, you can just bring it to lay behind you. If you want it a little bit more elevated, it's quite nice to bring a couple of cushions and stack them up. And then that gives you a nice long spine, nice openness to the back. So you can come to your cross-leg position and just let yourself recline back onto your cushions. Nice, so just make sure that as you're laying back, coming into your reclined easy pose, you can just let your spine lengthen out, allowing a nice spaciousness to come through the sit bones, through the hips, just moving any flesh out of the way that might give you a little bit more spaciousness. And trying to let the shoulders really soften down into that support beneath you. Taking time to settle through the hips and the legs. If easy pose or cross-legged is not too comfortable for you today, you can also, again, come to that butterfly position, just taking soles of feet together and knees to drop apart. We're going to be here for a little while just to let the body settle and sink in. So as you come into the position, just let yourself rest into your awareness, your breath. Nice and key, we're just coming into an easy pose, so cross-leg position, and just grabbing a couple of cushions or a long pillow, a couple of pillows to rest behind you so that you're coming into a reclined position. So this is a really nice way to open up the whole front line of the body to give the spine a good rest. And we're also working to open into the groin and the pelvis. So the class is going to be focusing around the hips, the groin, but also working into the upper back. So trying to just open, to release, to soften. So try to let your breath really flood down into the belly. If it feels nice to take any sighs or yawns, or just allowing the breath to do whatever it needs to do to help you release and relax a little bit further into the shape. And as you come into this position, just noticing how the body feels on an energetic level. What sort of energy do you have today? Physically, we can check in and notice how the body's doing. If there's any areas of tension or tightness, maybe any restriction. And as much as we can, we're letting the body weight drop down into the support of the earth. So we're really feeling held and supported. And we can start to let go of some of that tension, some of that holding or restriction as we feel that support beneath us. You're allowing yourself to feel heavier and heavier with every exhale. And just letting go of any holding in the muscles. Letting go of any thoughts in the mind from what you were doing before practice. And just slowly guiding yourself back to this present moment with your breath. Not trying to force the breath or control the breath. Just allowing it to flow effortlessly in whichever way it needs to for today's practice. Allowing you to expand more fully into yourself and to surrender more fully as you exhale the breath, releasing and letting go. So if you've taken an easy pose cross-legged, you can gently uncross and cross the opposite way. So just taking the front leg behind and keeping the cross in the leg. So we're going to be here for about another 5 minutes or so. If it feels nice for you to start to open out a little more into the chest, you can take the arms out into more of a T shape, or we can stretch the hands up closer towards the head, but nice and wide. This will help to really expand into your heart space and just open the body up a little bit more. Just resting wherever you feel comfortable today, and just going into your practice with however much you want to throughout. Come into an appropriate edge and never work into any pain or discomfort, but we're just trying to open a little bit more with each shape, with each breath. And we're taking this time to really dig inward, to draw our energies and reserves back in, gather ourselves inward, allowing us to reserve more chi, more energy. And as we gather in, we're taking this more yin approach to our evening. We can start to drop into that more passive and calm side of ourselves. And it's a really nice way to balance the mind, balance our day if we've been at work, to come in a more yin space, a more nourishing and calming space of total surrender and deep inward reflection. And as we take this time just to be with ourselves, to be present, we can really start to listen to ourselves and just tuning into what our body's needs are, what's going on emotional or mental levels. We can really start to hold that space for ourselves. And as we cultivate more space, we give ourselves more room to be able to reflect and witness our emotions and not to become so tangled in them. We create a breathing space to be able to move through life, not to be dragged or pulled, but to flow and feel effortless. Just by creating a little bit of space for our mind, for our body to be heard, to be seen, and to be felt. And just seeing if there's anywhere in your body that you can just relax and let go a little bit further, maybe 10% more. And try to cultivate in your practice today a really slow and calm movement as you're moving through and transitioning through each shape. And the more we can really build that slow pace, that calm sensation in the body, the more we can start to filter that into everyday situations and our responses. We can start to take a slower pace with our reactions and turn them into a response. So whatever we do to the body will affect the mind and vice versa. So just knowing that by moving slowly, mindfully, gently with yourself and compassionately on your mat, you're cultivating that for your everyday life too. We're just here for around another minute. Just allowing yourself to sink and breathe. Just taking the last 2 rounds of breath before we prepare to gently come out of the shape. And to allow ourselves to come out, we can either wiggle the feet out long and take the legs out stretched in front of us, or we can slowly start to bend at the knees and bring the feet flat to the mat, taking any movements that might feel nice through the legs. And then you can gently bring your elbows to the floor, and we can take ourselves onto one side of the hip and then roll onto the side, gently coming off of the bolster of the pillows behind us. And we can just move those out to the side. We're going to come over onto all fours. So just making your way up onto your hands and knees. If it feels nice to take a little stretch through the legs, you can pedal out the legs here. And we're going to take a rebound coming into a child's pose to compress the hip, just to release. So as we come into compression, we're pushing back into child's pose, just bringing the hips down to rest onto the heels. And you can either just rest onto your forearms, or you can come all the way out, stretch with the arms, bringing the head down to a brick or to the floor. Just coming into a child's pose for a couple of moments. Taking any wiggles or movements that might feel nice in your child. Maybe stretching the arms back towards the feet might feel nice. We're just here for a couple more rounds of breath. And then we can slowly start to bring the hands to the mat. Just push yourself up to a lifted position. We're staying on our heels. We're coming into a wide knee position from here. So if you just take your knees a little bit further out to the edges of your mat. If you've got anything going on with the knees, you might want to bring a blanket underneath the knees. Or maybe it might feel good for you to protect, well, not protect, but just to create a little bit more space in the knee. If you've got anything going on there, to bring the blanket behind. We want to take the toes together, and we can sit back onto the heels. And then from here, we're just taking a nice stretch forward. Try to feel that you're really lengthening out of your hips. So you're pushing your seat down onto your heels, but you're pulling from your chest, you're pulling from your fingers, and you're lengthening your spine. And we're pulling out of the pelvis, trying to breathe down into the hips, inflating into the belly. Getting a gentle tuck under of the tailbone to make a little bit more space into your lower back. And then we can slowly start to thread your left arm through underneath the right to come into a twist. So from here, we're resting just on the side of the head and on the top of your left shoulder, left arm. back of the bicep. If you need any extra propping, it's quite nice to bring a pillow or a blanket under the head if that gives you a little bit more space in the neck and shoulders. To begin with, we can just gently press into your right hand. So this can rest just in front of your face. And if you slowly start to slide your left arm through an inch more, just coming into the maximum of your edge and really allowing some nice shift to happen in the upper back. So we're working here to really rotate through the upper back. We're also working to elongate the spine, and we're finding a little bit more space in your left groin. So although we're compressing into the hips and the groin, we're also opening deeply into the left groin as we turn away from that hip. So you can allow the breath to stay quite full. We want to send the breath into the back of the rib cage. So trying to feel with every inhale you're expanding a little bit more into the tissues of your upper back. If you feel okay to keep your right hand where it is, you can stay with the hand just in front of the face, acting like a bit of a support. Or you can take your hands to the top of the mat, if that feels nice, to stretch open the armpit and bring a little bit more chi flow into the right side body. Or you can also bring your hand round and grab hold of the top of the left thigh if you want to start to work a bit deeper into the twist. So we're here for about another 2 minutes. Just noticing how your body feels in this shape. Is there anywhere that's holding or tensing? Can we try to really soften? So really let gravity hold and take and pull your body down to the floor. And let the muscles deeply relax and rest. And we're just pausing, allowing the body to open into a new space. This is a really good shape to move into if you work at a desk. It's a nice one to move the upper back, the arms, where you might have been holding quite a lot of the day. And we get a really deep compression in the hip flexor, which allows a nice release as we come out. So we're going to slowly start to unravel from this shape. You can bring your right hand down in front of the face again if it's not there already. And as we inhale, we're going to slowly start to unravel and pull out through the left arm. And if it feels nice to take a counter twist, you can keep opening that arm all the way out to turn and open to your left side. Breathing in here, stretching open through the arm before we come to the opposite side. So again, finding neutral position through the spine. It might feel nice to just take a little bit of a lift up through the hips if you need to, maybe adjusting through the knees if you need to, and then we can take the twist over to the left side. So gently threading your right arm through to the left side of your mat, taking a twist through the upper back. Just tuning into any differences on this side. And again, you can keep your left hand in front of the face or start to stretch the arm long to the top of the mat. Or if it feels good, you can take the hand round to hold on to the top of your right thigh this time, opening a little bit deeper into your twist. Again, try to soften the muscles and just drop. And just starting to come back into your breath. Taking your last round of breath here. And then we can slowly start to unravel with your next inhale, taking a deep twist to the opposite direction, opening your right arm out and breathing into the chest here. Nice, slowly coming back into center. Just taking your time to move, there's no rush. We can move any props out that you've maybe taken in front of you or underneath your seat. Keeping the toes together, we're just going to pad our hands forward and allow the hips to gently drop towards the earth, and you can lift up through the legs. You can start to pull the chest through, nice stretch open for the hips. You can maybe circle through the feet. Trying to keep the shoulders gliding down the back and the heart space nice and open. If it feels good, you can take a gentle back bend looking up. And then we can slowly, as we exhale, relax the body down, straighten through the legs. And just shift yourself into Sphinx Pose. So we're taking the legs out long. You can have your feet either together or you can have your feet mat width apart. I prefer to have my feet apart. And then you want your elbows just slightly ahead of your shoulder, so you've got a nice space just behind the bicep. Palms can either stay flat, or you can bring the hands to a prayer, or if it feels nice for you to bring the elbows to the mat and rest your head into your hands, that's also quite a nice way to relax the neck. If you do work at a desk or if you drive a lot, it might feel quite strong to keep your head lifted. So you can also start to drop through the head, neck and shoulders if that gives you a better stretch in your neck. So we're working quite a lot throughout today's practice to move a little bit more deeply into the psoas muscle, which is a very deep core muscle that attaches the spine to the head of the femur, head of the thigh bone. And it crosses through the torso into the legs. So it has quite a lot of compression into it, but it also attaches to the diaphragm. So it's a very integral muscle and connects quite important areas of the body. And often where we sit at a desk or we're sat down throughout the day and we're not utilizing our body in different ways like squatting or as much walking as we normally would have in the past, this muscle can start to become really contracted and tight. And then when that muscle is tight, we feel tightness in the groin, You feel tightness in the back muscles, and it also starts to pull on the diaphragm. So this can also alter our rate of breathing, our depth of breathing. It links into our emotional body as well. So if we have a deep layer of our core that's tight and tense, it's signaling to the body that there's something to be stressed about. It's signaling to the mind that there's a stress in the body. So as we're in Sphinx pose, we're really starting to lengthen that psoas muscle, and it just allows a little bit of a release in the body and a release in the mind. So Sphinx and Seal are really beautiful poses to do to help open the abdomen, to help open this psoas muscle and the hips. If you feel okay in your Sphinx, you can stay here. If you need to come down lower, you can bring your hands just either side of your chest and drop down a little bit lower into a baby cobra. And if you want to increase it into a seal, just for the last couple of minutes, you can take your hands off of the mat, turn the palms out like seal fins, tucking the elbows in towards the body, start to push up to a straight arm. We're keeping your hip bones down onto the mat. Pubic bone is gently pushing into the mat, and try to feel a lengthening of the tailbone down toward the heels. And then you want to really stretch and lengthen up into the crown of your head. And if it feels nice, you can take the gaze up, opening into the throat as well. This is a much deeper stretch into the psoas, into the spine. We're stimulating the kidneys as we come into a deeper compression in the mid-back. I'm also working to create more space in the abdominal area, so into the organs, into the muscles of the abs. So just let the breath feel nice and full into the belly. And if you're still in your Sphinx, you're still going to get a nice massage into the internal organs as you're breathing here. Try to keep the shoulders away from the ears, opening out the heart. Nice slow breaths. And we're just taking our last 4 rounds of breath here. And then we can slowly start to lower ourselves down if you've lifted. If you're in Sphinx pose, you can do the same. We're taking the hands just off of the mat, out to the side. And we can turn our face to the side, relaxing the upper body down. We can bring the right knee up, or whichever way you turned your head, bring that knee up towards the elbow and flex the foot. Try to slide the knee away from the body, coming into walking crocodile, just allowing a nice opening into the groin, a release into your lower back. Now really let yourself feel like you're melting down. So dropping into the floor, the pelvis is melting to the floor, the shoulders are dropping, and you're allowing a nice deep breath into the belly. Just taking one more breath on this side. And with your next exhale, you can start to slide that bent leg back. Turn your face to the side, opposite side, and then bring that opposite knee up to meet the opposite elbow. Flexing the foot, slide the knee away from the body, let the hips melt down. And just breathe in here. Just taking your last round of breath. And as you exhale, you can gently slide that leg back. Take the gaze back to the center. And we're going to prop ourselves up onto our fingertips. So if you take your hands just beside your chest, come up onto your fingertips. We're doing a little bit of a flow through the chest and shoulders. So as we inhale, we're going to push up, lifting, pushing into the tailbone, the pubic bone. And as we exhale, we're dropping the opposite shoulder in towards the floor, looking to the right hand. As we inhale, come back to center. As you exhale, twist through the shoulders, drop your right shoulder in, look to the left arm. Inhale, come back through to center, lifting. Exhale to twist and turn. So you should feel a nice movement all around the armpit, around the side of the pec, on the tops of the shoulders. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist, right shoulder drops in, turn to look to your left, your head drops to the mat. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist in. Nice, last one, inhale, center. Exhale, twist to your left. Inhale, come back through to center. And exhale, bring your hands just beside your chest. Slowly push into your hands and knees. We're going to round through the back as we push up into cat. Tuck in your tailbone towards your chin as you round. Just start to pad yourself back in to all fours so your hands are under your shoulders, knees are under the hips. And we're staying in cat, just rounding into your upper back. So we can take a few breaths in to try and expand into the upper back tissues. It might feel nice to wiggle and walk through the shoulder blades. Just to move and expand. We're also then moving into the lower back. Getting a nice stretch through the back of the waist. Trying to squeeze the belly button back to the spine. Just taking last breath here in your cat. And with your next inhale, we can let the heart drop to the floor. We're lifting up through the gaze and the tailbone, opening now into the front line of the body. So we can just maybe pad the hands slightly further forward. We're pulling the tailbone away from the head and feel a nice dropping down of the spine. You can maybe take a little bend into the elbows if that feels nice. And as you're inhaling, really let your belly inflate. As you exhale, try to pull your tailbone away from your head so you're stretching your spine even longer, maybe feeling a bit more of a stretch in your abdominals. Inhale to inflate the belly, inflate the heart. Try to keep the shoulders down away from the ears, the heart space open. Exhale to lengthen the spine, just last breath. Nice, and then slowly coming back through to neutral spine. We're going to take the right foot to step forward. So if you just take a nice big step to the outside edge of your mat, outside edge of your hand. Coming into a lunge. So if this is a bit strong on your knees, again, just pad up with a blanket or take any extra support prop in cushions that you might need. Your hands are going to stay on the inside of your foot. So we can just take a little bit of a lunge forward and a lunge back, coming into a more of a hamstring stretch. Just moving into your hips, into the groin, and into the front of the pelvis. Stretching the back thigh and the front glute. Just moving here, one more breath. And then we're going to stay forward. We're allowing your right knee to open out to the side. I want you to really pull the toes back and flex your foot. So the toes are pulling back to the shin and you're creating a nice S shape with the foot. This is going to help just protect the knee. And then we can let the body weight drop towards the floor. So if this is enough for you to stay here, stay here. If it feels good for you to take a bit more of a stretch forward, to lengthen out the hips, you can take the hands forward, or you can take the hands away, but make sure that knee is still dropping open. This is going to work way deeper into the groin, but maybe that's after a few breaths you come there. If you feel like it's a little bit too intense, you can also grab a cushion. Just taking the cushion underneath your back leg. And then you can take the foot a little bit more into the center and just working to rest the pelvis onto the cushions and just letting the knee drop out to wherever you can, still flexing the toes back. So as we flex the toes back to the shin, it helps to open all the way around the side of the hip, but we're working more into the groin in this shape. So just breathing here. This is lizard with a hip opener. So as we start to access a little bit more into the groin, just paying attention to what is coming up for you. How is this shape making the body feel? How is the mind feeling? Has it dislodged anything? In my own practice recently, I've really noticed that the groin and the armpit area hold a lot of emotion. They hold a lot of tension, and it's quite a place that we close off from. So to be able to breathe fully, to try to send the energy of relaxation, of letting go, of surrendering into these areas which can often be very tight. We're telling our deep psyche that we can release this sense of tension, we can release this sense of gripping and holding, and we're allowing ourselves to really deeply surrender to maybe some tension that we weren't particularly aware of, or that we carry around quite regularly in our daily lives. So it's a really nice one to do, to just allow the body to open and expand to itself a little bit more. We're here just for about another 30 seconds. Keep breathing. If it feels good for you to increase the stretch, again, you can always walk away from that leg, turning and twisting to your left to open into the groin a little bit more, but just come to the edge that feels good, and always coming out of the shape if it feels a little bit too much. It's nice to use the breath in a big sigh or a yawn, whatever feels good to help you release. Nice. So if you've taken your hands over to the left, just guide yourself back to the center. We're going to take that knee gently back into the center. Take your right hand on the outside of the foot. If you can, just shift your hips back. If you can, grab yourself a cushion. We're going to bring the cushion underneath the hips, and then we're taking the right foot all the way over to the left side of your mat to come into pigeon. So the knee can then drop down towards the floor. And you want to feel that you're nice and supported through your hips. You want to feel that the back leg can stretch out long. And we can work, first of all, to find a little bit of length. So I quite like to lift up and gently push on my thigh to pull space into the hip flexor. So as I push away, it opens more space into my groin. So you can either work here, or you can just gently lift up on to your fingertips. If it's a little bit too strong for you to come here, you can also work on your back. If you lay down on your back, you can bring your feet flat to the mat and then take your right ankle onto the end of the left thigh to come into the figure 4 shape. Nice. So we want to try to find a little bit more length in the spine as you inhale. And as you exhale, then you can slowly start to pad yourself down to come over and rest over this leg. If it's too strong for you to work from here as well, you can always move the cushions out to the side. Keep the front leg parallel, but let all of the weight drop onto this right hip. The back leg is going to bend, and then you're going to twist your body, and your body weight is coming to rest down on the thigh, and then you get the same nice glute stretch. Or again, if the knees, any problems in the knees, come to rest on your back, And we're just working in that figure 4 shape, either here, or if you've got the space to bring the leg in, you can work from here. Just gently pulling the thigh into the body. So no two sides of the body the same, so always working to whichever position feels good for you for today. Just here for about another 1.5 minutes. So seeing if we can really use the breath to shift any really tense emotion or tense sensation out of the body. Slower, deeper inhale, and an even longer exhale, or a sigh, a yawn, a sound that you might need to hum. So the benefit of practicing at home, you can make as much noise as you want and be exactly as you want to be without feeling like anyone's watching you. Try to really relax the eyebrows, the jaw, the shoulders. Relax all around your glutes. Relax your toes. Adjust here for another 30 seconds or just under 20 seconds. So if you're on your back, you can gently release the shape and take your foot down to the floor. So you're in a semi-supine bent knee position, and just take some knee sways before we come to the other side. If you've come to position from a lifted, we're just going to slowly start to come back up onto the hands. Take your time. And then we can gently slide your back leg round, coming off your pillows. If you're on your back, gently making your way up onto all fours. Taking any movements that you might need, maybe somewhat sways through the hips or wiggles through the hips. Just noticing any differences each side on your hips. And then we can, when you're ready, step to the outside of your left hand with your left foot. And we're coming onto the lunge series on the other side. So you want to just take a couple lunges forward and back. Just start to move into the hip flexor on your right leg. And really plant into the foot, push back into the hip. Use a nice breath. Nice, and then we're going to pause as we come forward, and we can let that left foot drop open so that the sole of the foot's lifted out to the side. Flexing the toes back to the shin and the knees dropping out, working into the left side groin and hip. So again, if this is too much, grab a pillow, prop yourself up so you feel supported, or take your foot more into the center and drop the knee. Maybe even shift the hips back a little bit. Or if you feel good and you can work a little bit deeper into the stretch, you can start to take your hands a little bit further forward or come down onto your elbows. If you feel really comfortable and you want to take it even deeper, you can stretch over to the right side of your mat this time. So paying attention to what's going on this side. Just here for around another minute. Trying to relax the face, relax the hips, let the weight of the hips gently drop towards the earth. Always support yourself with as many props as you need. This really helps the body to relax and feel trusted that it's supported. Nice. Last 20 seconds. After your next round of breath, we can slowly start to come back to center if you've moved to the side or out long or onto your forearms, and gently start to shift the hips back as you bring your foot flat to the mat. You can take a little stretch back into the leg. We can grab some cushions, bring that underneath your right leg, this time underneath the hips, and we're shifting the left foot over to the right side of your mat and then letting the knee drop down to the floor. So find a nice length for your back leg. You can start to lift up and maybe push on that thigh to open into the hip flexor on this side. Or if it feels good to stay just on your fingertips, you can pause here. You want the front shin to parallel to the front of the mat. And we're working to open through the whole front line of the body from the pelvis. And we're also getting a bit of a deeper stretch into the glutes. And then when you're ready, you can slowly start to come down over your front leg. Again, taking any modifications on this side. If it feels more comfortable for you to work on your back, please come to the back on this side if you need. Or you can use more props under your hips, no props. Working, bringing the body weight onto your left leg instead. Breathing is like the constant lapping of waves onto the shore. The wave comes inhaling, the wave goes exhaling. The wave reaches out, unrolling itself effortlessly, then flattens, depleting its flow. In relentlessly coming forward and turning back, the wave leaves the sand wet. It may glisten with damp, but the sand's smooth surface is now free of standing water. In the same way, can we exist without allowing unpleasant thoughts and feelings held in the recesses of our memories to leave their mark? Is it possible to give and receive with simplicity, without regret, without pride, without being involved in the result or consequence of our actions? The sea in its immensity remains untouched by the pulsating of its waves. You are. Let nothing disturb this incommensurable quietness. We're going to just here for about another 30 seconds. If you've come to rest onto your back, you can gently release your foot, bring your feet flat to the mat, and just take some knee sways side to side. If you're in sleeping swan, you can start to gently lift yourself back up to come on to a lifted position, and then we can slide the back leg forward and bring ourselves to a seat. So just shifting your hips back to come to sit down. And again, we can shift ourselves into the middle and come to lay down on our backs too. Just taking some really lovely knee sways. Let your legs go all the way to the side so you feel a nice compression in that outer hip and a stretch through the front of the quad into the hip flexor. You can take cactus arms if that feels nice to open the chest. I'm just taking about a minute here to move through the hips, through the spine. Nice, and then we're going to slow it down to come back to the center. We're moving into a supported bridge from here. So working to open the hip flexor, open the front of the groin, open into the quad, getting a nice bit of pressure onto the upper back as we rest. So you can grab your pillow again, and you're just bringing it, as you push your feet into the mat and lift your hips up, you're bringing it under your lower part of your spine, where your sacrum is. So you want to nestle yourself in here so you feel nice and comfortable. It might feel nice to just take a little bit of a shuffle through the hips, a sway through the knees, just to feel that you're really planted down. If you have bricks, you can also use bricks, maybe stacking two flat on top of the other and bringing that under your lower back if you want a slightly higher lift in your hips. And then we can take the arms either to hold onto the elbows, relaxing the arms above the head, or you can take cactus arms, bending the elbows, bringing the hands in line with the face. Or if it feels more comfortable, just resting the arms down beside your hips. So as we've taken the weight up, coming into a gentle inversion. So this is just going to let a nice flow of energy, the blood, circulation just come back from the legs, flow all the way back to the heart just to be regenerated. And also getting a nice flush through the kidneys as we're in this gentle inversion. So it's a really nice one to do before bed. Any inversion, gentle inversion is good for bedtime, just to bring the heart rate down. Allow the chi to gently migrate back to the kidneys to be replenished. And in your bridge, you're also going to get a nice massage across your shoulders. So try to let the shoulders feel nice and wide and spread. Take up as much space in your upper back as you can. And just sink in here. And if you want to increase the stretch a little bit more, you can start to stretch your legs out long. This is just going to open the hips a little bit more. And just taking the feet out to wherever feels comfortable. Maybe stretching the arms long if you have the space to really open up the whole length of the body. Allow a nice deep breath into the belly. And just let yourself surrender. And just taking our last round of breath here before we prepare to slowly come back out. If you've taken your legs long, you can gently start to walk yourself back in so your feet are flat. We can take the hands down and just gently push any props down so it's just behind your sit bones and come into the backs of the knees, and then we can take the legs out long. And we're going to come into Shavasana from here. So if you want to take any extra blankets or pillows underneath the back of the head. You can take any final movements that you might need, maybe knees to chest, or some hip circles might feel nice. Maybe lengthening the tailbone down by bringing the knees into the chest and rounding head, neck, shoulders might feel good. If you don't need any support under you, just taking whatever you need. And when you get into a position that feels good, just taking a nice deep breath in and sighing through the mouth. Just taking 2 more of those. Nice deep breath in. And last round, nice deep inhale to the belly. Let your whole body feel supported. Let all of your weight drop. Let all of the tension soften. Allow yourself to open as you breathe. And melt and soften as you exhale. I hope you know it is okay if your strength looks a little different in this season. I hope you know that the fire inside of you is still there, even if it burns quietly and gently as candles do on windowsills. I hope you know that it is okay to not feel the same and to notice all of the things that have changed, because all of this, absolutely all of this, is very real. I hope you also know that even in the rush of it all, there is time and grace to heal. There is time to take your time here, seeking peace beyond understanding, even if you do not feel you're all the way there yet. Breath after breath, depth into depth, the steps that you take are not only matter, but they reveal the quiet strength that has been in you all along and has been growing ever since. Just taking a nice deep breath in to the belly. And a gentle exhale, you can slowly start to wiggle the fingers, turning the head side to side, wiggling the toes. You can circle the ankles and the wrists and start to maybe stretch a little bit deeper into the arms and legs. Taking any sighs or yawns. And then when you're ready, you can gently come onto your side. Just take a moment to pause here, rolling onto whichever side feels more comfortable. Breathing into your body, Keeping your eyes closed, gently making your way up on your next inhale to a comfortable seated position. Bringing hands into Namaskar Mudra or prayer. And just gently nestling your thumbs into your sternum and really feel your heart meet up into your prayer, lifting up into your heart space, opening your chest, lengthening your spine, and then feeling your tailbone gently tuck as you root down into your seat, letting the pelvis and the legs feel heavy and grounded as you rise into the crown of your head, expanding your body. Just taking a moment to really drop in, noticing how you're feeling now. And knowing that this space of calm, peace, inward reflection is always here waiting for you to drop in. Whenever the world is too strong, too much, you feel overwhelmed, you can always come back into this place. It's always within us. Always supported, or always held, or always protected, and we're always safe. And just bowing our heads down, offering gratitude to ourselves for coming to our practice, to our mats today, honouring our bodies, offering gratitude to each other for sharing this space together, coming to sit, and offering gratitude to the practice of yoga, the teachers before us, and offering gratitude to all that it brings to our lives and to the world around us. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to practice.